Over the weekend, we saw another large group of releases from WWE. I said there was more to come in my last video a few days ago. I wanted to wait a few days because I knew it wasn't all going to be over with in 24 hours. I've waited until today to talk about that with you guys on Screw the Script. The amount of talent that has been released in the year of 2025 already by WWE is astronomical. It is enough to make up an entire roster in any other promotion. 33 people, 33, have been released since January. And we saw another wave happen over the last few days. I wanted to wait, like I mentioned in my intro, to really dive into this because I knew it wasn't going to be over in 24 hours. It took the last 72 or so hours for all of this news to come out. In my last video, I discussed the departures that happened behind the scenes. Well, now we got, another like 12, 15 people that were released in this wave. I mean, let's just start from the top, the beginning of the year, and I'm just going to read from my laptop because there's so many. 33, like I said. I can't keep them all in mind. So we had Duke Hudson, Akam, Blair Davenport, Cedric Alexander, Paul Ellering, Razor, Sonya Deville, Giovanni Vinci, Isla Dawn, Carl and Luke, the Good Brothers, Elektra Lopez, Carmella, which that was a big shock.
1 hour later.
Greg Miller, who's a host. And then the big ones, I should say. Real quick, Miko. I can never remember how to pronounce that wrestler's name, was released. Here's the big ones, though. The ones that really threw me off. Starting with Cora Jade. Wow. Dakota Kai. I mean, these two at one point were workhorses for WWE. And I'll show something in a second on that. Eddie Thorpe. Gigi Dolan over in NXT. Jakara Jackson. Javier Bernal. Joe Coffey. Katana Chance. Kaden Carter. Mark Coffey, Oro Mensa, Riley Osborne, Ryan Popola, Shayna Baszler, Wolfgang, Shotzi, and then the big one for a second time, which is baffling to me. You bring him back only to release him not even, a year later, I think. Braun Strowman. Like I said, that is literally a roster's worth of wrestlers that they have released since January, and we're only about halfway through the year. What in the hell are you doing, WWE? Well, actually, I do know what they're doing. It's the bullshit that TKO keeps doing. I mentioned it in my last video, how much I can't stand TKO and how I think they are ruining the WWE. They are money hungry. They want the most profit. They want to maximize profit as best as they can with the least amount of people, just like any other big corporation. Least amount of coworkers that people work with, the least amount of employees that are employed for the biggest margin of profit. I mean, that's what Jeff Bezos does in Amazon. I've heard horror stories about Amazon warehouses. If you've worked there, let me know if they are true. But boy, I mean, and the frustrating part, there's a lot of frustrating things, actually. So we'll just go one by one as to why I think this just dramatically hurts the WWE, and not only for the people that were released, but just for the WWE, how people are going to look at them going forward. And I feel like they should almost fear working there because your job really isn't safe unless you're in the top, 20 to 30 competitors that are used weekly. Otherwise, you're really you never know when you're going to get that call. So I'll start with the first point here in a second. But yeah, just looking at that list one last time, unbelievable. And looking at it, we'll start with this point first. I have mentioned in past videos that I think right now in 2025 as a whole, not just a few competitors, but as a whole, I think the women's AEW roster is the best roster in pro wrestling right now. And this just further backs it. Look at this first example. Look at that. There are 3 women left now from the original NXT Black and Gold days from, 5 years ago, before it switched to what it is presented as now. that's not how you build a women's future roster. I mean, obviously you got arguably the best women's wrestler that WWE has had in a very long time. Rhea Ripley right there down in front. But still, 3 of what is that? 6, 9, 11. 3 of 11 women are left. The other 8 are gone. And you're trying to build an elite women's roster when that's all you have left to show for. That's just an example number 1 as to why I think this is a big mistake for WWE, but it doesn't even end there. That's just a start. Let's get to point number 2. Say what you want about Bryan Alvarez. I, myself, don't always agree with this stuff. Sometimes I do agree with this stuff. Same with Dave Meltzer, Jim Cornette, the list goes on. There are things that each of those individuals say or throw out there that I do agree with. There are things that they don't, that they say that I don't necessarily agree with. But this quote here from Bryan Alvarez right here is something that really resonates with me as well, and I honestly fully agree with as well. He says, Post-Mania office and roster carts are starting today in WWE. I just want to say that this company made $40 million in ticket sales alone for Mania 2 weeks ago, and they are now doing cost cutting. Let that sink in, everybody. There's no defense for this. It's ridiculous. And yeah, like I said, TKO that's all they fucking want. Just as much money as possible with the least amount of employees to get them that profit that they want. It's really irritating. And then down below that, continued, every time they do cost cutting, I just think like, you are announcing record-breaking money, making every single time, record-breaking money making every single time you do a show and you need to cut costs somewhere. How? Exactly. And honestly, I feel like this wave, this time around, it's even more baffling to me because we have seen them cut costs in multiple areas in the past. You know, their production isn't as ridiculous as it used to be. Their stages. Does anyone remember that god-awful Raw ramp? It looked like a half pipe that they had for 6 months maybe, if that. Sorry, I hit the camera there. If that, that was awful, and that probably cost a ton of money. And then just the CGI entrances that they used to do for everybody. They don't really do that anymore. They really cut costs on a lot of that stuff, yet you're still seeing record-breaking money made, and they have released 33 people so far in 2025. Make that make sense. That's a challenge for you. Honestly, that's Tom Cruise Mission Impossible right there. Jesus. Then continuing on with that, there's this. Now this came from Reddit that I saw. This is just some comments that, other people feel this way, and these are some good comments. So if you happen to be any of these people here that have commented, shout out to you. But continuing on to that Bryan Alvarez post, this top comment here, wrestlers losing their jobs while Pat McAfee is about to wrestle the former world champ on a PLE is nasty work, especially when a damn near every major PLE WWE announces record gates to the audience while expecting a thunderous applause. I mean, I couldn't agree more with that comment. Pat McAfee's a good commentator, but that's all he should be, and he's a part-timer. Why are you giving him all this money? Why is he getting involved in a feud with a guy who was a dominant IC champ not too long ago, and now they're making Gunther just lesser value by throwing him in a feud with a 37, 38-year-old has-been punter in the NFL? I mean, these roster cuts have to go towards something, and I guarantee you part of it is to pay Pat McAfee, which is absolutely fucking stupid. It is. How do you justify that? All 33 of those people let go just so you can have Pat McAfee do a dumb match, one-off match with a guy that deserves better, Gunther? Come on. Big mistake. And it's going to go towards, probably having celebrity involvement. I'm sure they had to pay Travis Scott to show up at WrestleMania. I don't think he just wanted to do that. I'm sure he had to get a fat check for that. They're probably going to have to pay the people from AAA that are coming on over, which actually goes into the next point. Who used to be Alberto Del Rio in WWE. Now, I think he's Alberto El Patron still in AAA. He's back on the website under the roster. I think he's under alumni, not like active roster, but I'm sure he's going to be added to active roster. The fact that they put him back on there makes me think, okay, I guess they're bringing him back in. And this is where, real quick, before I go on, this is where WWE and AEW are different. AEW, what was it, Bear Bronson, or one of those two guys from that tag team? One of them got in trouble not too long back for some abuse allegations towards his girlfriend or wife or something, immediately dropped. You got Alberto Del Rio, who has gone through, like, here's some legal issues right here if you want to be reminded. I mean, there's info right there. I mean, he literally went to county jail and everything, charged for sexual assault, one count of assault causing bodily harm. He was released on a $50,000 bail, and, you know, that goes on if you want to read it. They're bringing guys like that back in. They just don't seem to care about anybody's character. If it gives them money, if it draws them money, they're going to do it. And I think that is just another sour and bad look for TKO and WWE as a whole. If I was an independent wrestler right now and I was looking to join a promotion, all of the stuff that's happening in 2025 is just going to be pushing me further and further away from wanting to join the WWE. And now there's one more thing that I want to talk about. So here's one more example before I end this video. And this is Dave Meltzer getting attacked. And again, I don't always agree with the stuff that he has said, and I certainly don't agree with this one, so I'll read it here, and you can read it as well. This came from a quote from Dave Meltzer saying, "Many of those cut were perceived as not working hard in training. If you don't work hard in training, there's so many people who do. And at this point, if the feeling is you're not working hard in training, I saw the term lazy. The ones who are lazy are going to be gone, and the ones who didn't stand out are going to be gone." Woo! That is quite the assumption there from Dave Meltzer. But down below, you see former Cora Jade, who's Elena Black, and then Gigi Dolan just absolutely attack him, and rightfully so. Gigi goes on and says, "When I wasn't traveling to work for either of the two companies I was working for, I trained very hard 3 to 4 days a week, bumping my ass off, doing cardio drills with one of the best, toughest coaches I've worked with, and worked out every single day, with live events every other weekend. So yeah, I don't want to hear this. The way my body feels says otherwise." And I can agree with that. And then down below that, this, plus can't forget having to go to my own gym outside of work after strength and conditioning. I guess she's taking a shot there. I guess WWE's strength and conditioning team needs some work, according to Cora Jade or Elena Black now. That wasn't doing anything for me other than get my body shamed by my bosses, coworkers, and fans. Fans aside, I mean, people do it. I wish they wouldn't. The fact that she's claiming that coworkers that she worked with in WWE and even higher-ups, just another awful look for WWE and TKO. That's all I had for you guys today on Screw the Script. You let me know down below who was the most shocking release to you, what you think about all of the stuff that I shared, the news, the AAA involvement. You gotta assume that this money cutting has gone towards guys like Travis Scott, people in AAA, and then unfortunately Pat McAfee, even though he makes a ton of money still, and who knows where else. But the fact that these 33 wrestlers are without a job in this year of 2025, and I won't be shocked if there's more by the end of the year, it's absolutely ludicrous. I feel for them. I hope that they get work soon. Some of these people could do really well over in AEW. They could do well in Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling is really coming up soon. Maybe try your luck cross seas over in New Japan. They deserve to find work, and I hope they do sometime soon. This has been Maverick with Screw the Script. Thanks for watching.